Back, and this is Impact on KLOS. My name is Frank Sontag. Till 8 o'clock this morning, I do have an in-studio guest who has been here more times than any other guest that has been on the Impact program. And I even suspect there are some people right now listening, Ray, that haven't heard you before.
Well, good morning to you, Frank.
My in-studio guest is the founder of the Frontline Foundation, Ray Castellani. Hi, Ray.
Hi, and to those who don't know, well, they certainly know you, but to those who don't know me, welcome. And I'm glad to be here this Sunday morning. A little under the weather myself, but here I am. And it's good to be here, Frank, and it's good to see you, and it's good to see your family now. You got a
oh, yeah.
dog
continues to grow.
Huh?
It continues to grow.
And your daughter was here last week.
Yeah.
And anyway,
and here you are.
Here. Yes, and here I am. And it's morning time. I'm not falling asleep, and I'm well rested. Outside of a little wheeziness, I'm really cool.
One of the reasons why I have you down, and I'm not asking you to talk about it right now because we'll talk about it as the program progresses, but there's an event coming up next Saturday night.
Correct.
That I want you to invite our listeners to. It's a wonderful night, and talk briefly about it now, and then we'll get really into it as the interview goes on, because I want to circle back and ask you a specific question.
Okay, beautiful. First of all, can I say the internet thing? First of all, if you have a pencil in hand, I'm going to give you the internet, my internet number, frontline-foundation.org, O-R-G. And if anybody's got a computer and can pull Frontline up, you'll see what we're going to talk about on the internet itself. Basically what it is I stepped out. I stepped out actually when your wife went on a vacation several months ago and rented the ballroom at the Radisson Hotel. And I didn't know what it was entailed. I just had this vision of this big room filled with people. And lo and behold, we have a comedy night. And it's going to be next Saturday, which is in 6 days now. And I need the help of everybody that's listening. We have right now a marvelous, talented group that is coming. Surprises. And my friend, dear Frank, has consented to open the show, which is beautiful. We have Carrie Snodgrass doing a reading. We have, and the whole show is starred and built around Kathy Buckley, who is, she has an impairment of hearing, but she's a marvelous human being. And we have Jim Brogan, who's the writer of The Tonight Show, and Fraser Smith, who you know, Frank.
Sure.
And then yesterday I was on Skid Row, and I'll have to get back to that one because people who don't know me don't know what I just said. Right. But I have the Prodigal Sons, who's a group from Skid Row, and I finally caught up with them yesterday after 4 months. They promised they would do the show, and they're going to sing a cappella. And then we have the Louis Aquaverde, a marvelous band that is going to be there. So it's just a wonderful evening in store for everybody. The room holds 366 people. I have 252 right now. So we're trying to close in on 100. It's going to be on the, obviously this week on KCAL and KLOS on our PSAs. It's $25. I'm giving you all the information, $25. You get to eat for the $25. Maria's Italian Kitchen, Chin Chins, California Fresh Food, the Carriage Inn, which is now changed to Denny's. Anyway, it just marvelous food. That starts at 7 o'clock. It's at the Radisson Hotel in Sherman Oaks. It's on the 405 meets the 101. And now that I said all that, Frank, we don't have to talk about it later.
Well, a couple of things. So it's an evening of food, entertainment, music, comedy, you name it, this coming Saturday evening. If someone doesn't have access to a computer,
correct,
and someone wants to get involved and say, I want to be there, what would you suggest they do?
Well, it's two ways. Right now, they can send a check for $25 to today and tomorrow, and probably as late as Wednesday, and to P.O. Box 570303, Tarzana 91357, and Frontline Foundation and make checks payable to Frontline Foundation. It is tax deductible. And I will mail them a check. I'll get it Tuesday, and they'll be mailed out Wednesday, and they'll have it by Thursday. They're tickets. But if they choose not to, they can call a number.
Let's give my project number.
All right.
We can do that. 818
All right.
594 2004. If someone wants to inquire about the evening next Saturday for Frontline, they can call my project number, 818-594-2004.
Thank you, Frank. And,
Sure.
And also, if push comes to shove, they can call the project, and then they can say that they are coming, and then you pay at the door. It's just that I want to make sure I'll have enough food for 300 people, because it's really moving up beautifully, and the LA Times has covered it, and like I said, KCAL and all the PSAs are out this week, and all the local newspapers. So it's a marvelous event. The proceeds are going to feed the people of the city of Los Angeles in downtown Skid Row, and that's where Frontline Foundation comes in. This is what it's all for. It's for the people of Skid Row. The people that are going to sing are from Skid Row, have been on the streets with me for 11 years on Skid Row, and they're out of Skid Row right now, but they and they're going to sing for a part of the show. So it's a mighty moment for me, because we have stepped out into this area of. You had mentioned, I was in the other room, about love,
Which was going to be one of my questions.
Right, and I visualize this. I want the entity in the room itself to be filled with this kind of feeling. I want the people to leave with saying, wow, this was a beautiful evening, and the participants, and I just want it to be that kind of thing. I don't want it, it's not about money. I don't need your money. That's not what it's about. I do have to pay the bill at the hotel, obviously, but I'm not into money. $25. They're charging me $19, so I'm not making any money on this thing. But I want it to spread the word. I want it to spread the word the things that I believe in, with compassion and understanding and tolerance for mankind. That's what I'm about. That's what Frontline is about. Go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry.
No, just to emphasize the point, the caller was talking about solutions, and I had shared the idea that love is a solution, and he said, well, the way the world is now, it's not going to work.
Well, then the world is doomed. Okay? I mean, it's just a question of when it's going to end, or because if the solution is not in place, if harmony and love and compassion and understanding is not in place, then it just keeps going around. And discord is prevailing, and that's where I say it. That's where the downhill trend of our society is going. It's okay to speak to one human being and say, well, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, but as a whole, and as a group. I mean, I was down yesterday to Skid Row, a very volatile area to say the least. And yet, my presence, I was down there with this lovely volunteer, Patricia, and my truck was down there with Bill and the other truck going around, and Penny, and wherever we were, there was this harmony in this very rocky area, so to speak, of our society. And why is that? It's not because we're throwing more rocks on this situation, or because we're putting discord out, or putting a jagged glass all over. No, it's because of harmony and love and caring. And
in large part, it's because you're doing it now versus, well, I'll wait till tomorrow when it's maybe a little safer, or next month or next year. You're doing it now. It cannot be tomorrow. This is it. Principles, Frank, you and I have spoken about these principles for years and years and years and years. Oh, my goodness gracious. Do you realize it's 10 years ago that we were young? I was young. You were the same, because you never grew old. Yeah, but, right. We spoke about the principles, Frank. If principles do not prevail, then where is our society going? Period. End of the statement. And I don't care who the listeners are.
Oh, my goodness. If principles do not prevail, where do we go from here? And that's that's what I've come to, that's what I have evolved into. I've evolved into a man that believes in principles. Is that so bad, so to speak? I mean, I don't have any opinions or viewpoints anymore. It's irrelevant. They're all irrelevant. I have one area, and that is principles. So I'm not here to talk about, well, people should feed people and people should work on Skid Row and they should be giving. I mean giving, but I speak about principles. And that's what I speak about. And I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about property. I'm not talking about prestige. I'm not talking about any of these areas. I'm talking about principle, because this is where the decay, when a tooth is decayed, it gets black and it aches and it hurts and all that. Our society is hurting. It is decayed. And we're sitting around, everybody's sitting around and saying, well, tomorrow's another day. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And on and on and on and on.
Or one of the common notions is that I'll take care of me.
Oh, that's it.
It's about I got to take care of me while I can.
The song of Do Re Mi 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 Mi, and it's a tragic situation. In our little newsletter, I don't know if you read about the freedom of self. It's the involvement and the love affair with myself, me, and more of me. I was concerned with myself to such a degree that it was awesome. When I walked in, I used to drink years ago, and when I walked into a bar, I never thought about anybody except me. You know, how much whiskey can I drink? How many people can I talk to? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The web of our society is crippled. The web of our society is crippled with selfishness. It is a corroding fiber. Selfishness. I believe that with my heart and my soul. I don't care if anybody is selfish. That's not my thing, is to correct anybody. But let me speak my piece. Let me support my feelings about my inner self, about not wanting to be a selfish human being. And if I can't talk about those feelings, then another person shouldn't talk about what they want to mouth off at. And I believe in this. If I don't believe in these principles, then I'm finished. Because the whole front line now is not about food. It's not about food. It's about caring. It's about love. I mean, these people on the streets of Skid Row who haven't got anything care about me, and I care about them. Caring, loving, compassion, understanding. And that's what I'm all about, and that's what Frontline is all about. And that's what our city, in this area of poverty in our own city, that the city of Los Angeles, it's a disgrace the way they're treating the people on the streets of Skid Row. It is a disgrace the way our society, the authorities are treating the people of Skid Row in our city of Los Angeles, and including the missions. They're making it so hard on these human beings downtown that it's a disgrace. And yet we don't talk about that in the newspapers or on the radio or anything like that. You should go down and see how they shuffle these people around and how the police come by. Get out of here. Get out. Move. And clean sweeps and all these. I mean, it's horrible. And that's in our city, not in Afghanistan or where all these other places are, in the city of Los Angeles. And they treat these as human beings. And they say, well, we're here because we want you to go into the mission or go someplace and get rehabilitated. What's rehabilitated? I don't know what but if they came uptown and came into your house and says, hey, Frank, you got to think a certain way, you wouldn't like that. I don't think you would. I know I wouldn't. But yet they're asked to get the philosophy of what the authorities say. You must do this. And then they'll say, well, we're drug infested, we're this infested. If your mind is full of selfishness, what's worse, drugs or selfishness? I don't know. Didn't mean to talk too long, Frank. I always get going. You always have a knack to get me going in some way.
I don't know about that. You talk about the streets of Skid Row and this idea of being forced to be a certain way. And yet you look at some of the more affluent parts of our community, like Beverly Hills always comes up in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's some people in Beverly Hills that are a bit confused about things, too. But
True.
I concur with what you say. Authority isn't forced into their homes and say you have to be this way.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't stand for it.
Because money speaks so loudly in part
That's
of
right.
our culture.
Money talks and something walks.
Something walks. Food is the vehicle by which Frontline now carries on its endeavor. But there was a time 11 years ago when Frontline was incepted and you became the founder, and from then until now, you have served a few meals.
We started in 1987, Frank. We served 111 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which we served yesterday. And from that one moment, or that one time in my life, or that period of time, 612,000 meals have been served in this particular area. And as they have that thing in Las Vegas in the Hilton that Elvis Presley, they said 25 million. That's the Rose Bowl 25 times. Well, I'm at the Rose Bowl a little over 6. So if I was able to feed all the people on a look basis, if you see the Rose Bowl, which is coming up in January, multiply that times 6, and that's how many people that if they were people that I fed, the same. A lot of them are the same. So it's meals I've served.
Mm-hmm. Taking much money from this, have you?
No. It was orchestrated to me, Frank, 11 years ago, and it was only, I thought, a one-time deal, so it's not that big of a deal. To receive no money for what I was to do and to embark on, or solicit any money. I can come up with little programs and et cetera, saying like the event, if you want to come, fine. If you don't want to come, it's cool. But I can't make it a money-making thing. That's not what I can do. I have to make it what it is, an entity of purity, and where money is doesn't come into the area or the arena. And so I've stuck by the thing. I have received. It's been and nobody asks about that. A lot of people come up with the ideology of saying, well, you don't give these people a program, you don't give them this, you don't give them that. That's not what I'm about. That's not what Frontline is about. The Frontline is about preserving the principles of caring and loving and being an instrument of His will and not my will. And that's what it's about. So receiving, I didn't understand it. Like I said, I thought it was a one or two time deal. Maybe, that's all I thought it was. Never dreaming that it was 11 years down the road a piece. And the hardships, that's what I said, but that nobody asked me. Ray, how has been the 11 years? It's been very difficult for me personally because of the sicknesses that I've had and the trials and tribulations, the losing of all my benefits as far as my hospitalization. But to trade me off for 610 or 12,000 meals is a minor league trade. A lot of these organizations don't have to worry. They stand up on top of the hill or wherever it is, and they receive $50, $60, $70, $80, $90, $100,000 a year. And, geez, I'd work for that, too. I'd be wonderful. I could innovations and everything. They have new missions downtown, the Union mission, the L.A. mission. They have money that I don't even want to talk about. I'm not knocking it, but my goodness gracious, I could feed all of downtown Los Angeles on what I'm doing right now. Had they, all that I have to do, have a little news media help me out a little bit here and a little bit there to produce a little more food. But I could still do it if I was young enough and strong enough to do it, to have a way station downtown or something to that effect and do it. But they won't let me because, you see, I'm not involved with money. But I could feed all of downtown Los Angeles, just Skid Row, not Pacoima, not the outer periphery. What's going to go down to Skid Row that you're going to see right now coming up at Thanksgiving time. You're going to see in the newspapers, you're going to see the faces of the guy with the beard and saying $15 will feed 5 of these people. Well, those people aren't on Skid Row. At least I've never seen them. 9% of these people, they talk about blacks and white. 99% of these people are black. and which I don't see either. I just see a human being. But if you do happen to see color, you don't see these people that you see in the newspaper. And you don't see kids. You know, all these, they're throwing the kids. They only throw the kids in to milk the public for the money. We're calling it the way it is right now this morning, Frank.
We are. And one of the other things I want you to, in a sense, you used a word once. I don't know if it was, it wasn't testimony. It'll come back to me. But the whole point being that you have been emphatic in recent years about saying, look, these are principles I stand up for and I take action on. And yet, I guess the question or the comment I want you to talk about is there's a certain lie also amongst good-intentioned people that part of the reason to do something like this is it feels good to do it. You know, it feels good. I feel so good helping people. You feel good helping people, right?
No. See, Frank, this again, it's a fallacy for me. And I want to clear this up because the minds of the human being, there must be something in it for me. It must make me feel good, make me feel worthy, make me feel happy, make me feel as though I'm useful. Those are not things that enter into my mind. Please understand that, listeners. Please understand that. And don't challenge me on it. I'm tired of being challenged. This is the way I feel. You can feel happy about giving to somebody else. I'm not interrupting your train of thought. But freedom of self has developed in my life, in my very being, in my very existence, that I am not concerned with myself and those petty little things about I feel good when I do something good for somebody else. That doesn't enter into the picture with me. I do it because it's there to do, because I must take this action. I'm not driven by any force, but I am only a servant of the master. Period. End of the statement. And I will stand up anywhere. I don't care who you put me in front of, Frank. It's irrelevant. If anybody denounces what I'm saying here, that's fine. I'm not into debating or into this is my feelings. And if I've got to be put down or castigated or maligned because of the way that I feel, then that person is in trouble, not me, because I'm going to feel this way. I felt this way a long time. The freedom of self does not entail the feelings of self. They ought to have a whole program on just feelings of freedom of self. It just doesn't enter into the computer. You punch in freedom of self and it comes up 0, because if you're free of self, there's no involvement of self. So how can I feel happy because at the expense of another poor soul that's going through hell or hasn't got any water or hot soup in the wintertime? How can I feel glad that I'm a human being, or but for the grace of God, there go on all this baloney? I mean, who cares? I was face down in the gutter myself 29 years ago. Who cares? What difference does it make? It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make me any better. It doesn't make me any worse. It just makes me what I am today. I'm a human being. I am God's child, the same as everybody on screen. I don't see any color. I don't see any women. I don't see any kids. I don't see any of this stuff. I just see principles. And that's all I see. That's all I care about. And I must take action, like you said. All these principles, all these marvelous, wonderful idioms, that's a good word, all these marvelous sayings and all these books and all the psychology and all the learning in the schools and all the is not worth the, I'll take a from Arthur Miller, not worth the dust on the feet of them that hang if I don't put them into action. If they lie dormant, I've wasted all that knowledge. I have a bunch of knowledge that's dormant, that's swimming around in my head that doesn't do a thing. But if I take myself out of myself and all my wonderful knowledge, which I don't have much, and I go help a little old lady across the street, or maybe not cut somebody off in my car, maybe if I just am more courteous instead of driving down the freeway because the guy in front of me is so slow, maybe if I just do that on a daily basis, maybe if I just don't beat my horn out of impatientness. Impatientness is another seed of corroding, decaying values in my soul. If I'm impatient with, it's terrible. But we don't have shows about stuff like that because it's too close to the human being. I am selfish, self-centered, impatient, egotistical. Oh my goodness gracious! Nobody would call you Frank. You know, they'll challenge you on all the issues about the government and the hushamana and the ha-ma-ma-ma. But talking about the principles of these other principles, impatientness and deceit and hate, and oh man, they won't talk to you about that, see? Because everybody is involved with themselves, you see, and that's the corroding fiber. So,
and as you say, it hits too close to home.
Oh.
But we do programs on, feeling good and self-motivation and self-improvement and or money seminars on how you can make more money and pack them in.
You pack them in. You have no problem packing them in. I mean, if you have seminars on money and how to succeed, you will pack them in. And nothing will be said about these other values. You go to a car salesman, a real estate, you can go down the line all the time. Is everybody honest here? Are we talking like hello? I like that word. But, I mean, where does it come into? Where does the principle of honesty come into? Where does the principle of unselfishness come into? I'm only worrying about myself. And it's the ball is so big. The ball is so big, Frank. It's like a giant snowball running down a hill, and all that selfishness is all interwound and all that stuff. And I just got to, if I want to survive, people say, well, I have the world. Well, no, you don't. You don't have to live in this world. Go on a mountain someplace and sit on a mountain or whatever you want to do. It's cool. It's cool. But I live in this world. You live in this world. We all live in this world. And I see what love and understanding and compassion does. And uninhibited by the inhibiting factors of self. That's a good sentence, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My in-studio guest is the founder of the Frontline Foundation, a nonprofit organization that feeds the street people of Skid Row and much more. And we're going to take a break. If you would like to talk to Ray on the air this morning, if you have any questions or comments, you're more than welcome to call us at 800-955-5567 or 1-800-955-KLOS. As always, you'll talk to Tammy Richardson. She will be picking up the phones as you call in. We're going to pause and take care of business. We'll be back with more. We'll talk more about the fundraising event coming up this Saturday night and other items that will come to light. We'll be back. This is KLOS.